Batman Superman World's Finest, issue 24, Mark Waid writing with Dan Mora on the art. So, last issue was a little critical. It was fine, but it was kind of just a one big fight until Darkseid showed up at the end. And the ending was interesting. The idea that Gog has the key to the anti-life equation is fun. This issue, I think, is a bit more interesting because there's actually, like, payoff to that, and there's the actual decisions being made, particularly with, like, Magog and how he ends up kind of the way he is for Kingdom Come, which is basically that he kills Gog so that Darkseid won't get the anti-life equation, and then everyone's horrified by that, and he's like, what are you talking about? I just saved the world because now he can't get the anti-life equation. And like, yeah, but you just killed him in cold blood. He wasn't even conscious rather.
Yeah, he killed the hostage so the bad guys couldn't have him.
Yeah, this is like in Speed where it's shoot the leg, except it shoot him in the head.
yeah. And I will say Waid this is the most menacing Darkseid has felt in a minute, because the last couple times we've seen him, it's been in these big events, and he just feels like a character. When he shows up here on this Kingdom Come Earth, he feels like a force of nature, because he's just moving forward. Yeah,
credit to that first page. Like, I think that very first page where Darkseid's down the left hand side of the page. The art there from Mora is just really good. Like, I don't necessarily think of Mora of doing like overly shadowy stuff, but I think it really helps that Darkseid image.
I know you haven't read Once in Future because you're not a big fantasy, but there's a lot of this kind of stuff with the creatures in Dark and Future, or Dark and Future, Once in Future. So knowing the table, but I've been so used to the lighter and fully bright styles that we've been getting through World's Finest and some of the other stuff he's been working on at DC, that you get lulled into that's what's normal. And so when you get stuff like this and most of the Darkseid stuff is like heavily shaded, right? So it's really driving this thing that Darkseid is almost a separate entity that they're used to dealing with.
It's funny because this is the same week we got Darkseid as written by Damian and like the Wonder Woman backup, which is the complete opposite end of the spectrum. But yeah, Darkseid's mildly amused that there's two Supermen, and he just zaps them with the Omega Beam, so they're both like down. He actually steps on one of them as he walks over them. Flash tries to run in, doesn't work. Wonder Woman and Green Lantern from this world, come in, doesn't work. It's just Darkseid, nothing's stopping him. He's walking right up to Gog to get what he wants, and ultimately Magog makes the choice. David makes the choice to zap and incinerate Gog, so there's nothing left. And then he's like, hey, I won, Darkseid. And Darkseid's like, you didn't beat me. You beat him, maybe. I don't care about you. I'm just going to leave now. But if the day ever comes, like, you didn't beat me. Like, you can wake up screaming my name in the middle of the night, you peon. I'm Darkseid. Darkseid is. Peace out, bitches.
The fact that he calls him an immature whelp, too.
Yeah.
Like, he's just going to fire that across. And then it's just like, I feel like that's where David stops being Magog and he starts being David again, because the Mora's art here, this is the most like human he's looked in this arc. Yeah, but
then he sort of becomes Magog through the conversation with everyone else when they're like, wait, what have you done? And I kind of like, actually, the idea that our Superman starts chastising this world's Superman for like, wait, did you not like set a good example for him? Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
How could you let this happen? Why is he like this? And they're like, well, Magog even says, well, what do you want me to do then? Do you want to send me in the Phantom Zone? Put me in Arkham for this? Like, I just saved the world. Why is everyone being so ungrateful? And Superman's like, I honestly don't know what to do. And he just walks off. Magog just walks off. Well, in that case, I'm just leaving. And tensions rise a little bit. Superman is like, he remembers the mass graves of all the heroes that they saw earlier in the arc, and kind of like that sort of compiles in with what David's just done to make him think that this Superman of this world isn't doing what he's supposed to do, that he's failing somehow. And that's when Spectre just shows up.
God, he looks so cool.
It does look good. The art here, Mora knows how to draw a Spectre. Can't deny it. And he's like, hey, I'll take you guys back to your own world. And they're like, yeah, but what happens to this world? And they basically get like a here's what happens in Kingdom Come lesson. And it's all, the art's great. It's really just an excuse for Dan Mora to draw a bunch of Kingdom Come stuff for a couple of pages.
Yeah.
If we're honest. But they want to see what comes of David, and we see David as an old man after Kingdom Come, presumably. And he's like crying at the cemetery, and Batman reminds Superman that, hey, like, he needs a Superman. Every world needs a Superman. So Superman gets to have kind of this sort of like word of encouragement with David, gets to hug him now that he's older, now that he actually regrets a lot of his mistakes and decisions. He's had some time to think about it, and basically says, even now you can still choose to be better. I still believe that you can be better. Just, you can't change the past, but you can be better now. And it kind of sets up, the final page is this like future where now Magog's like good and working with all the heroes of this earth. So
yeah, the next generation of heroes.
So I mean, I think this arc's been a really good art, right? Obviously Mora's been killing it. I think the overall idea of it's been kind of fun enough, and there's been good moments where some of the Batmans like clashing against each other, and this issue with the Supermans clashing against each other. I will say the David stuff as a whole does just feel like it's not been my favorite. Like I've liked what they've done with it for the most part, but it's not been something that's been super exciting on its own. If that makes sense.
I do think, as a fan of Kingdom Come, and I do like the fact that it makes sense that a failed Superman prodigy is responsible for the stuff that happens. Right. So I like that gives this context more. And the fact that Waid gets to give Magog this happier ending, right? Because Superman tells him, or Batman tells him, that you're nothing but a weapon. Like, you killed Gog without a second chance. Like, you're just a weapon. And so here, when he's at these graves, that's what he's like, it's all my fault. I'm nothing but a weapon. Please forgive me. And so Superman comes over and gives him this hope. They know you can still change. Like, it's not too far. And I like what that, again, what it does with Kingdom Come. And it's very, what's the word I'm looking for? It was not satirical, but it's like when you look at it through a lens and it's extra harsh to, why am I drawing a blank on this word? I want to say sardonic, but it's not. But it was Waid's take on modern comics back then. And so here he leaves that in a better place, because Magog's going to take this lesson from this younger Superman into the future and try to make the next generation better. Because all of these characters feel like, the way that they're drawn here by Mora, they feel a bit more aspirational than the Kingdom Come ones that we met before.
I think I do like the idea, because it mentions, and if people haven't read Kingdom Come, like, part of that story is that Superman at the start of the story is retired, and over the course of it, he comes out of retirement. But the idea that this other Superman chastises him for, like, not being good enough example, for letting too many people die, I like that can sort of play. And I know, like, obviously Joker does bad stuff and that actually leads, that's like the final straw that leads to the retirement. But the idea that a Superman who's, quote unquote better from another world gives him shit for not being good enough, like that I like that has been an extra motivation for him to, like, hang up the cape and be like, clearly I'm not good enough at this, clearly, right, I can't do this. And it does make this Kingdom Come world a little bit harsher, a little bit worse. Yeah, for sure. And just knowing too that he meant, like, Magog to represent Cable, right? And he's got the pockets and the metal and all this other stuff. So the fact that now he is kind of this multiverse hopping, time traveling character, it also shows that not all characters are just that disposable, that we can still do good things later, right? And as someone that, like, I don't love Cable, but I do appreciate the idea that, he was meant to be the son of Cyclops and Jean Grey, and he's meant to stop this apocalypse from happening, but the more he fights it, the more it's going to happen. I like that Waid and all of that type of darkness, he has given his version of that character a bright way out, right? Is like, the war is not over, but he doesn't have to be that weapon. He can choose to be something else. And I like that, because that came from it. Cynical was the word I was looking for. As a,
Kingdom Come had a cynical take on these heroes. I thought you were
looking for something more like specific to like telling a type of story. Okay.
No, but it was a very cynical take on those characters that were, not. They were a lot more sincere. And so here he takes that cynical thing and gives David almost a sincere hope that he can change and be different than what he was. And, I don't think every creator gets a chance to finish their story like that.
Yeah, I think it's an unnecessary element. I think Kingdom Come obviously just works on its own, but this is a perfectly solid kind of tie-in to it, and maybe nostalgia to go back to it, maybe giving Magog this kind of happier, hopeful ending is what Waid wanted to do, and I can appreciate all that. Yeah. And I think it's solid enough, but I wouldn't say it feels like it's as... it's not quite as fun as some of the other stories that have been in World's Finest, where it feels like Waid's just playing with these characters, and it doesn't feel strong enough to feel like it is actually super important either. It's kind of in this weird middle ground where it's kind of like one for him, and it was a fine enough read, but I compared to Shazam right now, which is just firing on all cylinders, this is like a bit more sort of lower down in Waid's quality, which is still a reasonable quality, don't get me wrong. But just not some of his best, I would say. But that's what it is. Obviously, Mora's art's fantastic throughout. So
yes.
What are you giving World's Finest?
I'll give this a 7.5.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's exactly the number. I just don't think it's quite good enough to be great, but it's definitely. I liked it more than last issue for sure. Next month we're getting Joker meeting Lex Luthor for the first time, seemingly. Yep. Based on the little blurb at the end.
Yep, there's that, and then following that, if I remember the solicits right, that's where the Might characters are coming in.
Yeah, so we're getting like a one-off story next time then, presumably. Okay.
For the 20th anniversary, the 25th issue, which makes sense.
25th anniversary.
Yeah, they're making a milestone of it.
We're not been doing the show that long, Matt. Come on.
No. Feels like it sometimes.